Hello, good evening, and welcome. You got me, Ian, and our guest tonight, Louisa, and partner who's just out of shop, but I'm sure he'll be popping in and out. But
Yeah, yeah, he's just gone to get a drink.
yeah, good evening, everybody. Anyway, feel free as we get comments, we will answer any questions that you've got. Um, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, Louisa?
Yeah, can do. Anything in particular you'd like to know?
Just your journey through paranormal and whatever field that you're in.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Okay, so I'm Louisa Winfield. Nearly been married a year now to Ben. Yeah, my journey started really when I was younger. I used to live in York. Um, Obviously, people know the stories of York, how it's quite a haunted place. When I was living there, it just felt like that was kind of normal life. It wasn't until later on that I realised there's actual paranormal teams and people who like investigate this kind of thing further. When I got with Ben, we went on a first ghost hunt for me. Ben had stepped out of the field for a few years at that point, and then he decided, oh, it'd be fun to go back into it. And I said, why don't we go on a ghost hunt then? And we did, and we really enjoyed it. And since then, he's gone back into it. He's obviously been into it for a lot longer than I have, since he's like 14, like properly into it. And he's been guiding me and creating my path, so to speak, through the paranormal world, where I've picked up like my own spots of interest. Obviously, I've got an interest in like the demonology side of stuff. We've just been this year doing a series of talks at the Haunted Museum Stoke-on-Trent about demonology destroying the myths. But no, sorry, my dogs. But I've also had an interest in herbalism. Now, this, I think, would come from like my grandmother's side of the family. She's a really good gardener. She obviously doesn't term herself as like, a herbalist or a green witch or anything like that. She's just naturally green fingered and always has been all her life. And that's come down from her side of the family. She's still got an amazing garden. She's going to be 90 in December and she still does her own gardening, everything. It's amazing. Yeah, so I've kind of got sort of my likeness of it from there.
Brilliant. We're going to ask what took you into herbalism and what have you, but you've just
Look out!
answered that.
Sorry.
That's very good. Like Ian, myself, I've got a pretty much all-round knowledge, general knowledge of a lot of subjects, but I'm a master of none. Unlike Ian, he's got doctorates and all sorts. He's a bit posh, but I'm a grassroots worker. I've worked in paranormal for years and years, but only recently, in that respect, couple of years, I've started doing blogs and shows and one thing and another because my son said it were about time I got with it and came into 20th century. So here I am. Anyway, without further ado, let's test some knowledges. Can you give us what you consider your favourite herbs and weeds and flowers to use, and the purpose of them, the use of them?
Yeah, okay. So in general, I do like lavender. Not just because it's, a comforting smell or anything like that. It's also has many uses. Obviously, you can pop it in your sleepy tea. Sometimes I do like to make my own batches of that. So I put lavender, chamomile, maybe some passion flower as well. But also it's good for paranormal side of stuff, for like cleansing of places. A lot of people will say, oh, white sage, but tend to go more for the lavender side.
Yeah, you see, that is the only thing I've come across so far that I'm actually allergic to.
Yeah,
So
a few people are, aren't they?
yeah, I actually substitute that for with bergamot because it's
Yeah.
got very similar properties. Um, See, what a lot of people don't know is I actually I trained in that side of things, essential oils, because I'm a qualified masseur, among other things.
Yeah.
Um, and I use a lot of herbs and what have you. And then I went into the wild sort of forms of things, and I found it fascinating how many things you can actually eat and how many
Yeah.
things are actually good for you. Dandelion and burdock, everybody knows is a pop, but for example, dandelions, you can use 90% of it.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
one of my favorite. Well, people
burdock,
class it a weed, don't they? But it's so
yeah,
useful and it's been used for
oh,
like centuries, like all parts of it.
exactly, exactly. And burdock, obviously the root. But another thing that a lot of people don't realise is that the burr, as in the name burdock,
Mhm.
was copied, and we've got a sort of a modern day derivative from that, which is Velcro.
Oh yeah,
It was copied from burr.
yeah,
It's surprising what uses we have got for a lot of things, and a lot of old-fashioned remedies and plants are actually coming back into use.
yeah. I've seen particularly on like different Facebook groups. I've seen quite a big resurgence in people looking at like the traditional ways of using herbs and bringing them into modern day like everyday use.
Yeah, exactly. You'll see me keep getting it. This is when people are jumping on. Have we got any questions from any of our watchers? Let's have a look, see if we've got any. But good evening, everybody, anyway.
I don't think we've got any questions as yet. Everyone's just saying hello and
Yeah, exactly. Not to
Yeah.
worry. I'm sure
Sorry,
we'll
'cause I'm
get
really
to
nervous actually.
I
I was
didn't know
saying
why.
when I was on the other day.
I
I
got
was
that,
saying,
and I didn't know why. What's making you
oh,
nervous?
because I'm not used to doing this. I'm used to just being in my little comfort zone on the other dimension and coming
All
out.
right.
It's just like, oh, it's something new. It's something different. I'm going to forget everything.
Don't worry about it. We just go down loads of rabbit holes, and we're all relaxed and all whatever.
Yeah.
I'll chuck some plants at you and see if you can give me some uses for them. Nah, I've got you worried. What about yarrow? What about yarrow?
Yeah, it's not something that I've actually used. It's one of the things that I've read about because when you're doing herbalism, there are like hundreds of thousands of different plants out there because obviously herbalism doesn't just cover herbs, it's a broader term for like anything plant-based. So I've just been starting I've read about different herbs, more common ones, some not so common ones,
Yeah,
and then I've looked further and got it's like with crystals, you can't memorize all the crystals and what you use them for. It's the same with herbs. You kind of pick ones and get them stuck in your brain, don't you?
yeah. That was a subject last week. You missed that one.
No.
We did crystals last week, so that's out of the way. Well, yarrow, it's pretty good. It's a peppery type plant and can be used in salads. A lot of people used to think that yarrow was poisonous, and the stems are, but the flowers aren't. You can use a lot of flowers, whereas you can't use the actual stems or leaves of a lot of plants.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a dodgy
You have to be
business,
careful.
really. Yeah, you do, definitely. Same with pansies. Pansies are related to violets, obviously, same family, so they're all edible. People don't
Yeah, that's where it
realize.
comes to knowing like the genus of the actual plant, doesn't it? Because if you know
Yeah,
sort of the genus of the plant and what family it like all has, you've got your
yeah,
different branches. So if someone's say allergic to one like member of that plant family, the likelihood is obviously that it's going to be have an allergic reaction to like other members of the family. So when you're dealing with that kind of thing, it's best just to avoid all that kind of section and just yeah, stick to the ones
exactly.
that you know that people are okay with.
Yeah, and it's identification a lot of the time. This is the dodgiest bit.
Yeah.
As in the answer, and I slipped that one in because that's an answer to one of our guests, the Cliff. Sorry, Cliff. Can't get you. Well, I can get you some magics, but I'm not going to do. But what I'm going to tell you is don't use mushrooms from a fairy ring because it's not the correct genus. Even though they look similar, but they're not the same. Dingy nettles. Obviously, we know that you can use them for teas and in salads, but you have to um, get them to a temperature to dissolve the silica hairs on them because that's what
Yeah.
causes the stinging. But the little trick, and this is where identification comes in really, really handy. There's a dead nettle, and it usually grows alongside the stinging nettles. So if you know the difference, the times I've picked that up and scrunched it and gone, oh, look at this, nom nom nom, and then whether I've been with the picked nettle up and stung this end.
I've kind of tricked my daughter a few years ago because we're in like one of my fields and there's some of the purple dead nettle there, and I said to her, "Oh look, nettle there! I can touch this. Look, it doesn't sting." She's just like horrified that I was touching this nettle because she obviously, being like, you know, she's about 10 at the time, only knew nettles as stinging nettles. She hadn't seen like or heard of these other nettles. Yeah, so that was quite funny. Just I'm like, no, it's only these ones. Just so I can tell, you know, you're fine with these ones. It won't sting you.
Exactly. We've got a question there. Can we share our knowledge on dragon root? Well, that for me, that's a plant that a lot of witches use, but as for its use, I have no clue with that one.
That's Sarah asking about the dragon root. Ben says it's good in soup.
Well, I wouldn't know. I didn't get a clue with that one. I'd rather use burdock, to be fair. It's beautiful root. It's a diuretic.
It's like chicken soup.
Yeah, but no, but chicken of the woods. Hey, that's nice. That's a really nice mycelia, is it? One at mushrooms. I didn't see that question then.
It was what uses does mugwort have?
Mugwort, right? I've got that one written down. Let me have a look. I'll find it.
You have it as a tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good for spiritual connections.
Yeah.
We'll say that. Ben says it's you to the moon.
That's a good one. What about St. John's wort? What would you use that for?
Right, hang on. Get me notes. My St. John's wort. Not to be confused when you're out foraging for ragwort, you know, because you don't want to pick ragwort instead of St. John's wort. So it's good to know the difference on that one, because there are a few different like plants that kind of look similar, and you need to be sure you're getting the right ones.
That's same as a lot of poisonous ones. I mean,
they try and they hide themselves, and try and look like friendly plants, don't they? It's like
exactly.
No,
bittersweet, I think, the most deadly.
Yeah, but no, St. John's wort, it's like good for. Sorry, my dog's looking. Good for things like depression and mood disorders. Aid weakness. Stress, irritability, and sleep issues, really. Sorry, I've got my notes here. I'm just making sure I'm getting the right bits, because like I said, I'm really nervous.
Me too. Same with plantain leaves. They're used for as an antifungal.
Yeah, that's another one I like, along with dandelion, because it's one that you see it everywhere, but people never think of it as actually having any use, where it's actually a really good plant, and it's been used for, again, it's something that's been used for like hundreds of years, really.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's got like anti-inflammatory compounds, which is obviously like, it's got what else? It's got flavonoids. It's got loads of these type of things in, basically, and the seeds contain a psyllium, which is a type of fiber, which is also good for your digestion.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's very underrated, to be fair, and you see it, like I said, you see it everywhere.
Well, this is it. I mean, again, because there's that many creams and salves about these days that you can buy off a shelf. It's that culture that people are lazy. They don't want to make anything anymore. It's like you can have an apple tree in your garden, but they'll go to shop and buy some. Why? I don't. I don't get that at all. But
you'd rather go and buy an apple pie than make your own. But no, well, it goes on to the foraging, doesn't it? Like this time of year. Well, I suppose it might be coming to an end a bit now around us, but the crab apples, because they're just everywhere at the moment. Well, like I say, they are starting to come to an end where we are, but and they're free there. They're dropping. They're all over the place. You know,
there's loads and loads of plants that people just walk past. I don't get it at all. We got a hell of a lot of I was just going to tell you the name on them then, like a little cross between a peach and a plum. Damsels.
Damsons. I was going to say they're more one beginning with a B. I want to say there's another one. Hang on, Bullis.
Yeah,
they're around at the moment as well.
Yeah, they're related to slows and everything, all your slows and whatever. There's plenty. What about? Do you know anything about hawthorn?
Hawthorn, like the berries at this time of year.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously you go through your different seasons and you've got your flowers, and they've actually got quite a bit of history and sort of like the old witchcraft side of thing. But the berries themselves, yeah, it's supposed to be, well, a good heart tonic to balance blood pressure as well. Lots of antioxidants. Yeah, and well, like most berries, when you pick them at this time of year, the ones that you get on the hedgerow, most of them are better to be actually cooked rather than just eaten raw.
Well, yeah, unless you process them, it's a long process, but you can make what we call hawthorn leather. It's long process. It involves mushing, but I've seen attachments for that go to a bread maker. And you can stick them all in there and it does it for you, but you're at it for 2 days, believe it or not. How much of a process it is. But then you lay it out on greaseproof paper, score it, and just leave it for a week. And then that will it stores naturally, and you can keep it for years, up to 2 years, naturally. And it's beautiful. It just makes like licorice.
Yeah. Oh.
No
a
other
lot of effort to go
ingredients.
to, though, isn't it? That's like we're saying, people don't like to go through the effort, do they, nowadays?
Exactly. But I've made it. It's gorgeous. It lasts for years. Yeah, there's all sorts. Let's have another look at some others. Another one, comfrey. What would you use comfrey for? That's another one that's coming back in for gardeners, to be fair. That gives you a clue, but it has other uses.
Yeah, I might be getting that mixed up with something else. But was that one used for wounds? I can't remember now. You put me on the spot.
Yeah, not open wounds. You get in there. It's actually used as a poultice.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic for bringing bruising out.
Yeah.
My dad back in there, he used a poultice of comfrey and he'd shattered his ankle. And he used to put a poultice and put it in hot water and soothe it for a good hour. And he'd take swelling out and bring that bruising down so much that he managed to walk in it for 2 weeks before he obviously had to go and get it sorted because it was ankle. But it just shows how good that stuff can actually be. You can also get a treated version and use it as a tablet form, and that I think it mentioned earlier, it does a similar thing to ginseng. So there you go. But its best use is fertilizer. You just chop the leaves up, stick it in a vat of water, and it's fantastic for not just garden plants, but house plants as well, which is something that's not really mentioned a lot. You get loads of fertilizers and that, but not for house plants. But there you go. That's another one that's really, really good. It's just dandelion or berries. Oh, yeah. Goosegrass, which is, it's got another name for it, that goosegrass. And chickweed. What's the name for goosegrass now? They're like little tiny sticky buds. There's a name for it. But yeah, that's used for other things as well. All edible, again, they're edible, and people don't realise that you can eat them. But they're also used as salves and stuff. Right, what's this one? Mugwort. Right then. Yeah, that's already been mentioned, yeah, Cliff. I think, Louisa, you mentioned that for used in the divination and whatever. Hey, we've got fed up a little listening to me rattle on here now.
Goosegrass, also like clavers.
That's the one. Correct. You see, you know more than you're letting on, you, don't you?
Oh, I've just looked it up.
That's one I was reading about other day as well. I need to get some of that because there's a lot of people been suffering with it lately, and it's mullein. It's a very distinct plant. It grows to about 7-8 foot. Can't explain what else how it looks, but it's a big plant. Use it for ear infections and stuff. There's not many plants you can use for something like that, but that you can. Clover, rich in vitamins and used in tea, aids the immune system. Clover, who would have thought it? Yeah, who would have thought it? But I do think it's red clover. It doesn't mention it here, but I think it's red clover. There is a difference, like Louisa was saying. There is a difference. I don't know where they've gone. I don't know what's happened. But if you're there, come back.
No, but the herbs are, I mean, I grew up with a lot of the Scottish remedies. I mean, simple things like for a sore throat, if you get a piece of swede and cover it in brown sugar, the syrup that comes off is very good for sore throat without any side effects.
Well, exactly. And there's a lot. And it's been coming up quite a bit of late that the medical profession. I think it's mainly regarding cancer that people, well,
they're having technical issues.
We just talked you about legs off. That's what it is. Yeah, cancers and what have you. It's a touchy subject, but I think there's something in it. I mentioned it a few weeks ago where the active ingredient for aspirin, the natural source of it is a type of willow. It's a willow bark, and North American Indians used it for obviously painkilling. We always seem to take the spike ingredient from it. Yeah, just use that. They'll be able to use that link when they're that they've got.
Lois is on the case.
Yeah, just reboot it. And I think that's the case. We synthesize a lot of things and use the main ingredient, the spike ingredient, when you look at it as a graph. And we don't think about all the other ingredients. Now, willow bark, it's got a lot of soothers already in it. So it's like, like when you see on these tablets, it'll say so-and-so side effects, so-and-so side effects, because they haven't copied or they're not using the natural ingredients. There's no soothers in it. And I think if they use the natural ingredient, there'd be a lot less side effects. The problem there is, because it's not synthesized, people can go out and get it for themselves. They don't want people to do that. Pharmaceutical industry is the biggest industry in the world. That's the one that makes the most money. So they're not going to say, oh, go and dig a root out your garden, are they? Because it's free. And I think that's the problem. But I'll not say hotel on that one because, I might get me Danny wrapped. But there you go. Let's have a look. What else have we got? So this is what I'm going to start and do, actually. I'm going to, when anybody asks me anything about an ailment, I'll give them a natural remedy. And let's just see if it actually works as well as something that you can get off its shelf. What's that? She's doing it, see, I think. Let's have a look. Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't know that one, though. Yeah. Didn't know that one. Burdock. We've mentioned some things it can do. It is a bit of a diuretic. But it can also... Diabetes. What?
And it can help with diabetes.
Yeah, well, it says so, but it also says that if you use it as a poultice for eczema,
Well, that's interesting.
exactly. So that again, that's another good one. I'm going down though, and I'm going down them now. Planting.
Hey, she's back.
Yeah.
Sorry, my phone just went weird. It went off
I'm
the
going to
StreamYard off this live, and then it could not load page. I went back to try and like reload from the link that Lois originally sent, and it just wasn't loading up. So we're using Ben's phone now.
Oh, at least you're back, and I'm glad because I'm running out of my knowledge pretty fast. What plantain? I've mentioned that one. Purslane used as a poultice. That's the one that's used on cuts and burns.
Yeah.
But you can also make it into a tea, and it treats bronchitis.
Interesting.
And it's also given to children to add healthy growth. That was one that was actually used. You see what I mean? Ian? It was actually used, but because you can get it, it's a weed.
Crazy things.
They obviously wanted a medical version of it.
Yeah.
This brings me into a link. Now, you probably know more on some of these other plants, Louisa, but so, for example, foxglove.
Yeah. I mean, just get me notes on that. So I don't miss out details. See, this is what I'm like, because I get that sort of like stress. That's like, right, I'm writing notes, so I've got everything to hand. Yeah. So foxglove, obviously it's, well, we'll go by what it looks like, with tall spikes of pink and purple flowers. They come out in the early summer. They look very pretty, very nice. However, they do contain the toxic cardiac glycosides, and ingestion of any part of the plant, and often the leaves, usually as a result of misidentification of comfrey, can result in severe poisoning. Symptoms include nausea, headache, skin irritation, and diarrhea. In several cases, it can lead to visual and preconceptual disturbances and heart and kidney problems.
Correct. But it's manufactured in its manufactured state. It was something quite popular in the Second World War because it had a soothing, calming effect, and they were called Purple Hearts, which was made from foxglove, and its generic name is digitalis. Digitalis. Am I right? I'm right.
One second. I've got a book on poisoning. 1 second.
But yeah, very popular plant. It was used in Second World War. I think the worst one, and it's actually on a list of things not to touch, not to use. What we used to have we actually had. I remember at school, it showed you as we used to have these little slideshows. So we used to love having slideshow, and it used to tell us different things each week in English, and one of the most notorious plants going, there was two of them. I remember them from school rather than learning them in later life, was bittersweet, which has got a load of different names. Bittersweet is known as belladonna, deadly nightshade. There's quite a few names for it. Yeah, there you go, tells you. Cliff's just found it. Yeah, treat heart conditions, and it was made into a thing called Purple Hearts during war, as a karma. But yeah,
what I've got to show you guys is this book called Wicked Plants, because I always think, it's all well and good learning about, the nice plants, the ones that have got like medicinal benefits and, niceness to them, but you do need to know about the other ones that's out there.
Yeah.
And this does help with like the identification. It tells you what to do, say, if you accidentally come into contact with one. So I find it really handy, to be fair.
Yeah,
Not gonna use it
I
on you.
need,
I'm not gonna use it on you.
I haven't got an actual book for that particular purpose, but what I have got is a set of encyclopedias, dictionaries, whatever you want to call them, a set of 10.
Yeah.
They came out by Arthur Meehan. They came out turn of century, 1920s, and I still go to them today because it's got 10 different things in each volume. And one of them is plants and herbs.
Yeah.
So I do look to that quite a lot. The other plant I was going to mention about from Belladonna, bittersweet and whatever, which is terrible, a horrible plant. There's still no known antidote to that one. Is laburnum, and we were warned about that as kids because most people had either a weeping willow or a laburnum in the gardens when I was growing up, and they look like pea pods, and people ate them, and there's no cure for that one either. But this is what we did as kids. We didn't have access to sweets and snacks 24/7.
Yeah.
We used to actually go out and forage.
Yeah.
There'd be a gang on us walking down a country lane foraging. And these are the things that we needed to know whether they were edible or not, because I'd have been on them like a ferret up a pipe. But
Well, you can't go wrong with a blackberry though.
oh no, definitely.
That you're safe with.
Yeah. Yeah, every street corner's got blackberries, isn't there? But
yeah,
not so many have got goose cobs like we used to have, though. There used to be a hell of a lot more gooseberries about than there is today. Don't know why. It's just a plant that's declined. But yeah, I think I've mentioned now. I've run out, and I've mentioned all that I wrote down. I think I'm just having a quick look.
Okay, well, I've got some bits if you want that we could talk about.
Give it.
Go for it.
Yeah. Because obviously this time of year, you've had all your dog roses, which you got wild roses, which have been out in bloom, and now you've got your rose hips left, haven't you?
Yep.
Do you ever make rose hip syrup?
I have.
And yeah.
It's good. It is nice, but I kind of left it in the fridge for a little bit too long, and then took the top off, and it kind of just exploded.
It exploded.
Yeah,
Really?
it was fermented.
Oh, right. I mean, I did a similar thing, but mine had gone to like treacle. Literally gone hard. So.
If Brian fermented it, it'd be on purpose.
Yes. You know,
it was nice because I made it last year. I've not made any this year actually because I had to chop my dog rose bush back, basically because it was growing up on the side of my garden, like adjacent to my neighbours, and they kind of gutted their garden, which meant that my dog rose was kind of just flopping around. So I ended up chopping it down. So this year I haven't got any. I could go out and find some, but I enjoyed making it out of the ones in my own garden.
Yeah.
Need a bomb in the house. It's just
a
like
trend that's happening. What is saffron? Does anybody know what saffron is?
It's the what's it? The stamens, isn't it? Out of which plant is it? Not not from. Which plant is it from? No. It's not a crocus, is it? No, that's a different one.
Yeah, it is. It's crocus.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. And there's been a story of Eastern Europeans going around our parks, taking out crocus ears.
Well, is it only supposed to be from one certain sort of type of like the crocus family? One of not just like any random ones.
Yeah, well, it is. It's one of them things. It's a bit like what's them eggs? There's expensive ones and then there's cheaper versions. Well, crocus, they're all the same family, but there is particular one genus. I think it's because on that particular one the stamens are longer.
Yeah.
It is all saffron at the end of the day because it's the same species, same plant, but like a poor man's version. But they were taking it. Choose what? They were taking them out at parks till they were stopped.
Oh no.
But
That's funny.
plants that are underused, really underused these days, that were actually had a purpose. Well, like we've just mentioned, hawthorns. Hawthorn were used for lots of different things. Back in the day when the king, I think it was, I can't remember what king it were, that gave common man a plot of land, and it became known as, later came known as an allotment. But there was given a plot of land so that in his wisdom, he were getting taxes back because people could afford things. But when they had to make a border, rather than putting a fence or a wall, they used plants because they wanted to utilize every bit of that plot that they got. Hawthorn's perfect. It makes a good fence. It's got thorns, but you can also use it because it goes back before potatoes. So we used to use haws as a source of starch. So there you go. That's another bit of useless information. But yeah, I think that's same use of rose hips. Because there was Old English and Standard roses, because the hips on them are massive.
Yeah.
They're not like your normal rose plants that you get from garden centre. So again, it's all down to types of plants, I think. What's another one? I'm trying to think of another one that's not used at all today.
It's like we were saying about the dandelion earlier. Everyone just sees it as a weed, don't they? I mean, you can make a wine out of it. We've still got some dandelion wine.
Exactly. Oh yeah, definitely. Same with sloes making gin. That's actually starting to come back in a little bit. Anything to do with alcohol these days, it's that expensive.
Exactly. Everyone's interested as soon as it's alcoholic.
Have you tried damson and raisin? Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, they haven't done an alcoholic dandelion and burdock yet, or else that would go down a hit in Scotland.
Exactly. Yeah, probably. They'd be trying to use thistles though, wouldn't they?
Well, probably, yeah.
Mallow, that's one. What about mallow?
Yeah. Again, it's one that I've seen mentioned a bit, but it's not one that I've actually actively looked into. Yeah.
There's loads. Have you got any plants, any that you can think on that? They're mentioned, even today they'll be mentioned as a produce, but there's no actual anything of the actual produce left in it. It's all synthesized.
Yeah.
It's like marshmallows, like I've said, marshmallows. There's no actual mallow left in it. One that is, and people don't realise where the ingredient comes from, is Turkish delight. What's the main ingredient in that?
Well, the flavouring or the actual what it's made of?
Well, it's basically 90% sugar in it, but
it's sugar and gelatin and rose essence and stuff, isn't it?
That's correct. Yeah, rose petals, made from rose petals. In fact, Arabs make a lot of fermentations out of things, and rose has been one of the most more wide used thing in Arabia back in the day, because they used to make liquor from it, but they used to make. They classed it as a scent. Yeah. So it was a perfume, basically, and they were drinking perfume because they weren't allowed to drink alcohol. But perfume being alcohol-based, well, hey.
Nice to get around it.
And they did. They really did. And I think they still do it to this day. But that's a perfect ingredient, isn't it? Rose petals.
Yeah, I do like rose petals. I had some skincare. It was made handmade in this country. Can't get it at the moment because the person who runs it is just having a rebrand at the moment. But she actually used used the essence of her rose petals from her garden to put it into this skin cream that she was making, and it smelled so nice. You could tell the difference between sort of the real rose petal essence than the kind of synthesized versions and the fake ones.
Yeah. Cliff just come up with one there mentioning dandelions as a another one, a diuretic, but not from the number 2 side, from the number 1 side. Supposed to be bad for bedwetting. I don't think that's dandelions. That's one at daisies, isn't it? But I'm not sure which one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's particular days.
Cups as well would have the same thing.
I'm not sure. I don't know about that one. Only thing I know about buttercups is what's that whether you like butter.
Oh, yeah, where you put it under your chin.
Yeah. But there we
We'd
go
never
again.
tell me your beard dry, would we?
What? Yeah, buttercups. There's a plant that's identical to it, but it looks like it's a leggy version, and it's actually a different plant. It's,
Oh yeah, I've got
yeah,
had some growing in my garden. Oh, I can't
yeah,
remember what it's called, but I can picture it. Yeah,
exactly. It's identical, but it just looks
yeah,
like it's grown leggy.
yeah. It's
Um,
just like a growth spurt.
yeah. But it's not actual buttercup. Even though you might have a buttercup smucket side on it, it's marigolds, marsh marigolds. That's what it is.
Yeah,
So you remembered.
yeah. I've got this. Well, I find it quite useful for plant identification, because often you can be, in your own garden sometimes, and something random will grow up. So I've got I don't know if you guys use one, but a plant identification app. It's all
I
handy
haven't.
out, and it can be pretty accurate. Obviously, you've got to get a clear photo. You need to. I'd say it's about 90% accurate. Sometimes it'll be throw up something and you're a bit like, not too sure about that, but it
Yeah,
is quite handy.
yeah. I'm pretty good, as I say, because I'm a qualified landscaper, and I did do a lot of nursery work, so I had to learn a lot of things. I had to
Yeah,
study a lot of things. I've never actually used a book since, to be fair. The one thing I would like to know a hell of a lot more about, and I think a lot of people would, and that is as my cellar is mushrooms and toadstools and whatever. I've got a very basic knowledge of that, and there's certain things I will touch, but there's a hell of a lot that I won't, because, like you said, there's a lot of lookalikes.
yeah. It's always best to be on the safe side, isn't it? Really, if you're unsure, then leave it alone.
Well, exactly, and a lot of it is actually to do with where it grows.
Mm.
Like, for example, yeah, King Edward's, King, I've forgotten the name on it already, but it actually only grows on ash. But there's one that's identical that will grow on other trees. And the amount of people that have picked wrong one because they didn't think about what tree it were growing on.
Oh, it's like wild garlic, because that's had a massive resurgence in popularity, hasn't it, the past few years?
Yeah,
Everyone's out foraging for wild garlic.
yeah.
Don't mistake it for lily of the valley.
Well, yeah. You see, to me, that is so blatantly obvious.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to spot when they're in flower. Like, from my perspective, I say it's easy to spot when they're in flower because the flowers are completely different. But if it's just leaves and you've not gone up to it to touch it, or even from a distance, you should be able to smell it. But if people kind of more your townsfolk will come out to the countryside and be like, "Oh yeah, I've seen this on Country File. I'm going to go and do this, that, and the other," and it's like, well, just make sure you know what you're doing. Don't spoil yourself.
Exactly. That's another one. I'm not sure if that. I don't think it's Lily of the Valley, is it? It's call it Lords and Ladies.
Yeah, I've got that somewhere. 1 second.
Arum Lily. Back in the day, there were an industry for it, and they used to use it as a glue because the berries are very, very sticky. And that went into decline because the industry went into decline. They didn't need it anymore. They used to use a synthesized version, but it makes fantastic glue. In fact, the cartoons, it actually shows you in cartoons. I think it's Wile E. Coyote that used it a hell of a lot. It makes everything shrink.
Okay.
As well, it tightens everything up.
Yeah.
So you'll see in cartoons when he's munched on something, and all of a sudden his mouth goes. Well, that's through using Arum Lily's Acme version.
Yeah, I've got written down on my notes about that. But it's it's the berries that are the particularly poisonous part of it.
Yeah.
And it can lead, if you do eat it, leads to throat swelling, breathing difficulties, and stomach irritation.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently they don't taste very nice anyway, so you wouldn't want to eat too much of it. So
Well,
I imagine
exactly.
the thing is, if you put one in your mouth and you're like, I'm not going to eat anymore, so you shouldn't get too badly poisoned.
Exactly. I think there was again. That's reason why one of our species went into decline as well, because they actually used to eat them, and that we one at shrikes, great grey shrike, sounds like shite, shrike. And because they're not grown anymore, they've gone into decline. They're very, very rare now. There's another one as well, mistletoe. Mistletoe's got quite a few uses. None of them edible.
No, don't eat the mistletoe.
No, but
Lovely as a decoration.
yeah, exactly. But you can make a salve from it for something. I think that's where a lot of it's kissing under it came from, because it's supposed to be an aphrodisiac, but not an edible one.
No.
Don't know how it works. It's gone out of fashion, obviously, but I did hear tell of that one. Have you got any more? Can you think of any more?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I don't know what happened when, like, what you were talking about when, like, I got cut out of it when my internet connection just went away.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, have you spoke about the doctrine of signatures?
No.
No.
No? Okay. That herbs, it's how they used to basically use herbs, obviously back in, you know, a few hundred years ago. It states that the herbs resembling various parts of the body can be used by the herbalist to treat that ailment. So the ailment that looks like the herb, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So got walnuts. They resemble the human brain. Kind of ish. So traditionally, walnuts were considered medicinal treatment for head-related ailments. But today we know that it's the fatty acids contained in walnuts that actually improve concentration and memory.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
like the old things, like the old way that they used to discover how things might work, and it's actually turns out there are little bits of basis in scientific, you know, discoveries on it.
Yeah, I suppose it's similar to almonds, isn't it? In a way, we would never have used them as an oil or anything like that. Which one is it that we derive argan oil from? I know that's a nut. Is that Brazil or walnut? I can't remember. I know argan oil. That's a very in thing today.
Yeah,
It was,
we get that right in everything, don't
yeah,
you?
but it goes back to Roman times. That one.
Yeah.
Then just obviously went totally out of fashion when they left. Now I can't remember which one it is, but it's one at nuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we've got a lot. We've got a lot of things, like you said, that we're finding things out all the time, but they don't want to tell us, obviously. And what they do with it, they say, "Oh, buy our product; it's easier and more effective," and it's not. It's just a synthesized version to get you to go to shop for it, rather than plucking it off at trees, like we were saying earlier, and actually processing it.
Yeah.
That's the hard part about it, is processing.
It's, if you look at like the ingredients and you know, like, say there's, you know, you got the plant and you know obviously the names of the parts of the plant, and in the ingredients it could say, oh, it contains like 80% of this part of the plant, but you look and you think, hang on, I know that plant. Or you can do some research and find that actually that's not the part of the plant that contains like the most beneficial sort of ingredient kind of thing. That'll contain like a smaller part, but because they say, oh, it's got 80% of this in, if you don't know, it'll make you think, oh yeah, that's really good, it contains loads of this. Whereas actually it'd be better off using, say, a different part of the plant, say like the difference between like the roots and the leaves. It's like the methods of extraction as well. If you know which way is the best method of extraction to get the most benefits from that part of the plant.
Yeah.
But people will just put like any old ingredient kind of thing pretty much on some packaging, making you think that you're being really healthy and really good. And actually it's just like, yeah, that's not even the best part of the plant on there. You're just getting the most diluted part kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Same with mint.
Yeah.
People think that everything is in the leaf, and it's not. in actual manufactured things, they use the whole lot. It's only us, Frightners cottage garden, we pulled leaves off because, for a different reason actually, because we wanted to keep the plant alive and keep using it. So we'd just pull a few leaves off rather than pulling plant up.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that can be misleading as well. How we've actually become to using it, and that's lost actually in translation because we're not growing them, and we're just going to the shop and buying it. We think it's that's what it is. It's the whole plant. So you could even get people buying a plant, coming home and chopping top off it. You think you just killed it.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. Have you got any, Ian? Can you think of any? Now you see he's been sat back all night.
Yeah, I'm just listening. I mean, my nan was always, like you said in the beginning, Lou, lavender. My nan was always a big fan of lavender.
Yeah.
And I've even painted my office that colour. So, which I then found out means the colour also means that you have a like for the supernatural, which is a bit,
Yeah.
So,
which is good because, like I said, I'm allergic to it, but I'm well into it, and so.
yeah.
But I use bergamot a hell of a lot. It's the same properties, and you wouldn't think so, really, because I mean, what does bergamot come from? It's oranges, so you won't think they were anything like lavender, but the properties, chemical properties, are very similar.
Well, from like other side of stuff that me and Ben deal with, like when we have people who come up and they may have an attachment, or they think they've got an item that's got an attachment to it, we always suggest orange juice, like from a fresh squeezed orange.
Yeah.
Sounds odd. It sounds like what people are talking about, but that's like one of the old, more kind of lost occultology practices. That orange juice can actually help with attachments.
Yes, exactly. You should know this one, but I'm testing you again.
Oh no, don't test me. I don't do well under pressure like this. I'll be useless on quiz shows, won't I? I just be like, I don't know anything. I don't even know why I'm here.
What plant's got the highest concentration of vitamin C?
Oh, it's got the highest.
Yeah. It's so high that it's actually bitter, but it's not. It's one of those things that, like with these sour apple things where one part of your tongue will hit the sweet spot and the other part will hit the sour spot and so on. Well, this is that bitter, it makes your cheeks go, ugh. But it's actually sweet.
I don't even want to try it.
Well, it is. It's actually sweet. It's just you don't get that sweetness until you've more or less swallowed it, because it's that high in vitamin C that it's.
You got to go through the sourness first.
Yeah, it's sharp. Giving.
Yeah, go on.
We're looking this one up because it's fantastic for loads of different things, i.e., because it's got all them properties. And it used to be used, but it isn't no more. And that's sea buckthorn.
What was that again? Sorry.
Sea buckthorn.
Sea buckthorn.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a spiny. Yeah, it's spiny. It's got spiny thing. It's hard to harvest. And I'll tell you what they used to use. They used to use like an afro comb to get because you can't pick them off. There's no way you can pick them off at stem. So you use this afro and run it down stem, and it pulls them all off. It's quite awkward to process, and probably that's why they stopped doing it, because it were more or less a cottage industry. You got people doing it, and manpower went out of fashion, didn't it? I mean, even getting rid of people on tills these days in supermarkets.
I know. I was in Sainsbury's earlier. I got a basket full, not a trolley full, just a basket full. I was like looking. I was just like, there's only 4 normal tills, which like got people manned. And just like, they're just like got massive queues. I was like, I've not got time for that. I'm gonna have to use the self checkout. I don't like doing it. I can't help it. I had to come home. That's what they want, isn't it? They try to force you to know what there's no other option but to go that way.
Exactly. I didn't see
I
that.
thought I would jump in, guys. I've been listening really intently. Louisa, you've done really well tonight for a woman that's nervous.
Oh,
I've actually
I'm just like shaking.
I've
Yeah.
Cliff wrote a book. He's always writing books.
Yes. I don't know what I didn't see what he said. This one's a good one as well, Cliff. Yew trees. Now, yes, the berries on yew trees, there's only a part of it, actually. Some of it you can eat. It's not actually a berry. I can't remember the term for it. Come on, Louisa, look it up for me. It's not a berry.
Poor Louisa, she's been thrown under the bus tonight. She's been put on the spot.
Yeah, I am on the spot. It's not an actual berry. There's another term for it. And the outer casing of the yew berry is actually edible. It's the seed inside that's really, really highly toxic, especially to cattle. Kills cattle. It always has done. Which is a myth. Well, it's an oddity why it's in a lot of cemeteries. It's always been classed with the paranormal for some reason. The reason that it escapes me, I don't know, I can't remember. But yes, you're right, Cliff. It's poisonous, but it's not the whole of it. As I say, I can't remember the term of it. What are they called? Them? But they're not a berry. They're not a true berry. Come on, Cliff. What are they? They're not a true berry. But as I said, the flesh is edible. But that's the only bit that is. You get anything to do with the seed that's inside, and you can actually see the seed inside. It's not completely enclosed. It's like a cap. It's like a cap. I can't remember the term, what they're called. And thank you, Robert. I am on fire tonight.
He is. He's been absolutely on fire tonight. I can't believe I'm actually sitting here listening. I've never seen English so quiet in my life. I wanted to prod him with a stick.
I've been listening intently, which is what you should do, Lois. You might learn something.
Fuck up, yeah, English prick.
Thank you, Cliff. It's an aril. It's classed as an aril. It's not a true berry. I knew it weren't classed as a true berry. And arils, they're like a cup, basically, an upside down cup.
Yeah,
so the
olive,
actual,
looks like an olive that you find at the shops.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, but that's been picked or whatever, picked. But the actual seed is highly toxic, but the fleshy out of it is actually edible.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to risk it anyway.
Oh, God, he's not. She's. I think this is the most I've seen Bri. It is the most I've seen Bri talk. I've actually really, really enjoyed Bri talking tonight. It's the first time I've heard them go like this, so may it continue.
Well,
but I just want to obviously thank Louisa for coming tonight, definitely. and I want to thank the boys for taking care of the show while I've not been here. Next week, guys, we have Greg Begu. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce his second name, but it's worth a shot. He does Ghost Box Radio. He's a good guy. So we've got him next week. So yeah, definitely. I'll be obviously next week's show. I'll be there. And that'll be the start of my return. But I've been really, really fascinated listening to you guys tonight. And as I said, it was an absolute pleasure, Louisa, to have you.
Thank you.
And it's definitely
for another subject.
Definitely, and we definitely need to get you back because I really, as much as Ben Kids only doesn't know anything about demonology, he's kidding me on because I've heard him go. So the next, definitely need to get him on. But to you, David Bellamy. Yeah, Louis, good height. Definitely. But yeah, thank you very much, boys, for what you do. I do really appreciate what you do for me.
Thanks for
so yeah,
everybody that came on and chuck some questions at us.
Definitely.
We did the best. But yeah,
You've done well. Done me proud.
Another show, Louisa and Ben.
Yeah.
De-
Go for a good one.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You
Definitely.
can pick your own
Well,
subject. How's that?
If we get both
Well,
on, you won't be stuck on your own, Lou.
But definitely, guys, catch us next week. And all have a good weekend and stay safe. Guys, also what I will mention is check out The Other Dimension. It's a really, really good show, an interesting show. They're worth the watch, guys. So pop over, give them a wee join. Definitely. But everybody have a good weekend. Bye.
Thanks a lot.